Hi, this is Kylie with Fem and Flow. I hope everyone's having a great day. I saw some very interesting headlines recently that I wanted to get on and discuss. And this topic's going to open us up to talking more about the sixth dimension. And if you've listened to my previous podcast episodes on the different dimensions, you might have a little inkling on what I'm going to discuss, but I'll get into it. So, the first headline I want to discuss is Chinese radar spots plasma bubbles over the pyramids of Giza. And there's multiple outlets reporting this that a lot of plasma bubbles have been found over the pyramids. And like I mentioned, I've talked about some of this on previous episodes, but I'll just give a little refresher in case you haven't listened to the different episodes on the different dimensions. So, currently, energetically, we can access energy from dimensions 1 through 9. Well, technically, dimensions 1 through 8, but the ninth dimension is a black hole that creates a universe. Dimensions 1 through 3 are physical, and dimensions 4 through 9 are non physical. But don't think of these different dimensions as separate locations or tiers exactly. View them as all layered together and spiraled within and around in the shape of a torus. And I have a Google Drive with some different sketches and different links. So I'll link the sketch of the different dimensions and what the different dimensions are ruled by. And like I mentioned, I've done other episodes already on the different dimensions. So after this, go back and listen if you haven't yet. But I'll give a little rundown. So I already said the ninth dimension is a black hole that creates a universe. And each dimensional energy steps down essentially into a lower vibration to create the dimension below. And when I say lower vibration, that doesn't mean it's negative or dark at all. Frequencies have to vibrate at a slower rate in order to create a physical reality, to create our physical objects, our physical body. And why we talk so much about raising our vibration is because as soul and consciousness in a physical body on earth, we have to raise our vibration in order to come into resonance with higher dimensional energies. For example, dimensions 5 through 9. And we need to come into resonance with those so we can have total freedom and total bliss, essentially what we call heaven on earth. And the Dark Global Elite has put a false matrix on the fourth dimension of Earth to cut humanity off from these higher dimensional energies. They want to cut us off from heaven on earth. I talk about this on other podcast episodes, but they want to cut us off because we are the true creators and the divine beings. We are the true creators and truly divine beings when we're connected to that higher dimensional energy. And the eighth dimension is light, is God, is source energy. So when we're connected to that, we are absolutely divine. But the Dark Global Elite does a lot of different things that I've mentioned in other episodes in order to cut us off from that so they can manipulate and control humanity. But back to the layout of the different dimensions and what they're ruled by. Like I said, ninth dimension, the black hole that creates a universe. And then this energy steps down into the eighth dimension. And the eighth dimension is God, source energy, pure light. This energy is the essence of everything, of all creation. And when you hear people say return to source, it means we come into resonance, the same vibration or the same frequency, with the energy of the eighth dimension. And we can be physical beings and come into resonance with source. Some people call that enlightenment. The energy of the eighth dimension, pure light, then steps down into the seventh dimension where it creates sound. Then sound of the seventh dimension steps down into the sixth dimension where it creates sacred geometry. And if you want a visualization of this, look up cymatics. And this is where different sound vibrations or sound frequencies create different geometrical patterns. Then the sacred geometry of the sixth dimension steps down into the fifth dimension, which creates love, beauty, harmony, bliss, compassion, everything that's natural and good. The term love encompasses much more than we even understand. And the fifth dimension is the dimension of love, unconditional love. I actually haven't mentioned this before, but the fifth dimension energy is what creates synchronicity. The totally free experiences or totally free realms. And by free, I mean totally resonant with all 1 through ninth dimensional energies. They are all what we archetypally call heaven. And they all operate in total synchronicity. And these good, blissful things just happen. And it feels wonderful and magical in that synchronicity. That may help us understand the fifth dimension a bit better. Love, harmony, bliss, synchronicities. That wonderful, awe-inspiring, blissful type of energy. And then the fourth dimension is also a non-physical dimension. It's the dimension where non-physical meets the physical. And the fourth dimension is the realm of archetypes, myths, and the collective mind. And the fourth dimension sets the vibe for the physical experience. It's what creates this physical fairy tale land. It creates a fun physical playground, essentially. And we build our eternal lives in these fairy tale physical experiences. Well, we build them in the physical experiences that are totally free and that fully resonate with the 1 through ninth dimensional energies. And the fourth dimension is essentially programming. It programs the physical experience to operate in a certain way to have that vibe, essentially. It creates a matrix, and not all matrices are bad. From this Earth experience, we may coin the term matrix and view it as bad, but it's not. When we're aware of it and it's all totally free, the matrix just sets up the experience. But then on Earth, we actually have what we call the false matrix, which is just that the original matrix of Earth, when it was totally free and totally in resonance with the 1 through ninth dimension, that was hijacked to put certain programming in place to cut humanity off from these higher dimensional energies in order to control and manipulate. So, yes, the fourth dimension is essentially a matrix or programming that sets the vibe, sets up this physical fairy tale land, which is actually super cool. And some examples of fourth dimensional influences on Earth, just if you want to get an idea, put something concrete with the concept. I've talked about this before, but the zodiacs in astrology, they are archetypes and they can help us learn more about ourselves and guide us through our lives. And that was one of the original fourth dimensional programs or archetypes that was all set up to be cool and help us. And another one of the original fourth dimensional earth archetypes is that we have partnerships between the divine feminine and the divine masculine. I've talked about this before, and I'm actually going to do a podcast episode on sacred unions and what that is. But this idea of partnerships between the divine feminine and divine masculine and sacred unions is one of the original earth archetypes. And yes, other experiences also have this concept, but not all of them. So in that way, yes, it is unique to earth and some other experiences as well. And really, these other experiences you could view as other realms or just other physical experiences that we build our eternal lives. So, another part of the fourth dimensional program here on Earth is that humans have children, they have families, and they have pets. And also, animals are archetypes. That's the term spirit animal. You're just bringing out the archetypes and persona of these different animals, essentially. So those are just a few example, but do you see how those set up the vibe or set up how the fairy tale land operates? Every experience has a fourth dimension that programs the experience and sets up the vibe of that physical realm. Outside of this, in your eternal free life, you get to experience what you want and can hop around to different experiences and build your eternal lives in the different realities that you prefer. Like I mentioned, the fourth dimension of Earth was hijacked by the dark global elite in order to control and manipulate humanity, and they hijacked by programming the fourth dimension and by cutting humanity off from the higher dimensional energies. You can view the fourth dimension as a filter. It's a canopy that lies over the physical dimensions, and the fourth dimension is the veil. Fifth dimensional energy filters through the fourth dimension, which programs or sets the vibe, and then the third dimensional physical experience is created. It's all just filtered energy. So that's all the non physical dimensions. And that's where I'll stop with the summarization and I'll go back to the topic at hand, which is the sixth dimension. So, like I said, the sixth dimension is ruled by sacred geometry. And I haven't done an episode on this yet, it's on my list to do. But each dimension has a different base energy. So, actually, I did make one connection while I was recording once. The base energy of the eighth dimension, which is source energy, or God, or pure light, the base energy is photons. And then the base energy of the sixth dimension is plasma. The pyramids in ancient Egypt were using sacred geometry to anchor and pull in sixth dimensional energy. And this is also how Nikola Tesla was pulling in sixth dimensional energy for his free energy. And we can use sacred geometry to pull in sixth dimensional energy. And yes, Nikola Tesla was completely correct. There absolutely is free energy, and that will be something we have in the future. Energy is literally all around us, and we just have to be able to anchor and harness that and pull it in. And we do that with sacred geometry. And the fact plasma bubbles were found over the pyramids in Egypt show we are in fact anchoring in sixth dimensional energy and the false matrix is falling. So we should view this as a huge win and a big, big milestone. And there's another headline that shows the exact same thing. In Anna Marie Island, Florida, there have been square patterns in the waves. And if you look this up and also look up sound cymatics, they look so comparable. And this is another example the false matrix is falling. The energy of the seventh dimension is stepping down into the sixth dimension. That sound is creating geometrical patterns, and we see that reflected in the water. And crop circles are the same concept. It's sixth dimensional energy being anchored in, and it reflects different sacred geometrical patterns. And actually, in the example of crop circles, we're actually receiving higher information, higher knowledge via the sacred geometrical patterns. And this gets me into something else that anchors in higher dimensional energy, and that's our own bodies. I mention this often, but our body is our vessel or the tool we use to interact in and create our physical reality. And our Holy Trinity is our body, our soul, and our consciousness. And there's an ideal shape to our body where it's the healthiest and where it's anchoring in the most higher dimensional energy. And the geometrical shape of our body anchors in 60 energy. And then our heart chakra anchors in fifth dimensional energy. Our pineal gland or our third eye chakra anchors in eighth dimensional energy. And our crown chakra pulls in all dimensional energies and then it filters down essentially in a torus and it goes to this corresponding chakra. And we need to have a properly functioning energy system in order to create our reality as we wish and in order to be energy alchemists. And being an energy alchemist is our birthright. And we often call these things spiritual gifts, but truly, it's actually what's just natural to us outside of this. And I actually believe we're coming into a point now that we're going to start to relearn how to work with energy and come back into alignment and use these natural gifts that we have. And I don't really want to call them gifts because I want to be clear this is what is completely natural to us. We've just been cut off from that here on earth because of the false matrix. So we need to wake up to it and then start to use it again and learn how to use it. We're in really exciting times. But like I said, to do this, we have to have a properly functioning energy system. We need to have cleared, aligned, and spinning chakras. And our chakras are our energy centers of our body. And a healthy body in the ideal geometric shape. And it's no coincidence that the culture on earth is filled with alcohol, sedentary lifestyles, processed food, etc. The list goes on and on. The dark global elite knows how important our bodies are when it comes to our freedom, creating our own reality, and anchoring in higher dimensional energies. It's truly time to wake up to this because it's not just about health, it's spiritual. It's part of the spiritual battle, and it's all about your sovereignty. And it's time to stop making excuses. We need to see food and alcohol culture for what it is. It's truly evil and after each one of us individually. But it's pretty simple. Stop eating that junk processed food, stop drinking alcohol, and move your body. Truly start viewing your body as a tool, as an energetic beacon that needs to be healthy in order to function properly, and in order to anchor in these higher dimensional energies that free you, free humanity, and allow you to create the reality you want. It's so much more than health. Oftentimes, we think of it as a trade off. In the sense, we view it as okay, we're trading off eating junk and drinking alcohol now for more extended life when we're older. Like we're trading off more, I guess some people would call it fun. We're trading off more fun or more freedom now for shorter years when we're elderly. So people don't view it as that big of a thing because they're like, who cares? I'm already going to be really old, so who cares? And I know some people think this way, but that's not how we should think about it, though. It's so much deeper. And it's just a lie that freedom and fun equals eating what you want, eating processed food, and drinking alcohol. I love how RFK Jr. is saying, make America healthy again. I actually believe he knows exactly what I'm talking about here and knows much more than he can publicly say. Look how the media is already attacking him and calling him crazy and talking about him like he belongs in a psych ward. The dark global elite is going to gaslight and do whatever to try to remain in control. The veil is falling though, and by that, I mean the false matrix of the fourth dimension. And it's truly time to speak up and speak up even if others may call you crazy. There is a strategy to this though. You can slowly reveal truth without overwhelming and never force it on people who don't ask or bring up related topics. There's certainly a finesse to it. Let's swing back to our body and how it's truly our energetic tool. When we do physical movement with our body, essentially move it into certain geometrical shapes, we anchor in six-dimensional energy. And as we pull in more sixth dimensional energy, this sixth dimensional energy steps down into fifth dimensional energy, which creates harmony, balance, beauty. And this actually translates into the ideal body shape and harmony in our mind. You've heard people talk about how fitness and working out is not just for your physical body, the look of it, but it's also peace of mind and a calm mind. And that's certainly true. And this is the energetics behind why working out and moving our body is so beneficial. So you can see it's a beneficial cycle. As we move our bodies, we pull in more 6D energy, and our bodies align with the ideal geometrical shape. And when our bodies are aligned with the ideal geometrical shape, we naturally are anchoring in more 6D energy, even when we aren't moving. So get moving. It's more than health, it's everything. Now I want to get into what Earth's future looks like. I sort of mentioned it already, but the future is free energy. Actually, free everything, but right now I'll just talk about energy. So, like I mentioned, we will use sacred geometry to harness free energy, and that's energy of the sixth dimension, and the base energy of the sixth dimension is plasma. And because of the fifth dimension, there's a natural beauty, symmetry, balance, and harmony that we are naturally drawn to, and this aligns with sacred geometry as well. Remember, every dimension essentially filters the energy in a certain way. And everything in the universe is just energy vibrating at a different frequency. So, with free energy, there will be no ugly power lines. There will just be the most beautiful architecture that naturally anchors in this energy that is free to use and that is everywhere. And there's absolutely no scarcity of this energy. And we'll use stunning natural materials. And I'll talk about this in a whole nother podcast, but in the past and right now, there's really been a war on beauty. And truly, the war on beauty goes deep to this dimensional talk because the war on beauty is cutting off fifth dimensional energy. But this is a whole nother podcast, so I'll do that on a separate episode. Okay, so now I'll talk about how we can pull in more 6D energy into our physical body. So for this part, I'll talk about it in 3 different categories. All of this is talking about six dimensional energy, but we'll go from high, medium to low. And I don't mean high versus low. One is not better. It's just lower frequency of 6D energy, medium frequency of 6D energy, and higher frequencies of 6D energy. All within the six dimensional frequency band, though. And I don't mean low as in lower amounts. It's all about the frequency of it. And these different ranges are more useful for different things when it comes to your body. And it's not about calories or intensity, it's all about the geometric form. To pull in this lower frequency of 6D energy, you can do things like walking and running. And the lower frequency range of 6D, these things are better for burning fat. And if you've heard of tuning forks, there's actually one out there that's called the fat tuning fork. And I didn't even realize this, but yeah, when you hit that one, it's a lower frequency than the muscle tuning fork. So that's kind of interesting and actually goes exactly along with what I'm talking about here. And those tuning forks are just pulling in that frequency of 6D energy. So then in the medium range, you're actually getting the benefits of the lower tier as well, the lower ranges. So in this range, you are burning fat as well, but you're also doing more activity that's pulling in 6D energy that actually maintains your muscle. At this point, you're not building muscle exactly, but you are having that energy pulse through your muscle and energetic system and it's maintaining it, and you're also burning fat. And these things in the medium frequency range are things like Pilates, yoga, Legree, dancing, tennis, snowboarding, surfing, and then even crystals in different geometrical shapes can pull in this medium frequency range of 60 energy. So now we get to the high frequency range of 60 energy, and these things are better for building muscle. And like I said, it's tiered, so you're getting benefits from the low and the medium frequency ranges as well. So this is stuff like weightlifting, boxing, and if you use that muscle tuning fork and you hit it with the mallet, it's a much higher pitch range than the fat tuning fork. So this may seem confusing because you don't think of these as building muscle, but also more highly technical sports when we're putting our bodies in these very specific geometric shapes, that is pulling in this higher frequency range of 60 energy. And golf actually is one of these, and snow skiing. These are both very highly technical, and the technical aspect of them totally goes along with geometry. And yeah, you might not think of those as necessarily building muscle when it comes to your whole body, but it's pulling in very high frequency 60 energy into the muscles being utilized. So, some other things that pull in these high frequency 60 range of energy: massages, acupuncture, copper, gold, and then some precious gemstones in geometrical shapes. And some of these are diamond, rubies, sapphire, and emerald. And you can be intuitive with these geometrical shapes. You want to see the shape and think of it flowing. Like, think of how easy energy can flow through it. For example, ovals and pears, they clearly have a shape of flow. And then when you think of a square or a rectangle, not so much. You don't see that natural flow. Does that make sense? And the ancient Egyptians, they didn't just use jewels as fashion, they really utilized jewelry for these energetic reasons. And yeah, I tied the low, medium, and high frequency ranges. I did tie some of them to fat burning or using the muscle or building muscle, but as you can tell, not everything on the list corresponds to that. There's a lot of different reasons we want to harness and anchor in 60 energy aside from conditioning or getting our body into better shape. But like I said, when you do pull in more 60 energy, one effect of that is your body just becomes more in line with sacred geometry and the ideal shape of our body. That's just how it works. But we also want to pull in 60 energy in order to just resonate with the higher dimensional energies in order for us to fully create our reality and be energy alchemists. So keep that in mind. It goes more than just conditioning the body. So, regarding the crystals and gemstones, in certain geometrical shapes, they pull in 60 energy that is then translated in 5D as different things. Different crystals and different gemstones have different benefits. But like I said, they must be cut in these specific shapes that allow the energy to flow. And one example is the ruby is associated with the heart chakra and opening your heart. So that is it for this episode. I just wanted to talk more about the sixth dimension and talk about some exciting things happening in the news right now, saying that showing that we are absolutely pulling in more 60 energy. And that is so, so exciting. And then I just wanted to give some different examples of how you can use your own body as a tool to harness and pull in 60 energy. So I went over how to do that exactly. I hope you enjoyed this episode. If you did, leave me a 5-star review. That would be so helpful. And subscribe to my podcast so you hear it every week. And if it resonated and you think someone else might like it, send it to a friend or a loved one. I really appreciate it when you send it out. And we spread the word and we spread this amazing truth. And we really help others know that they're truly divine. And I just want everyone to step back into their birthright and become energy alchemists so we can all rebuild this beautiful world. I love you all. Have a great week.